Welcome to another breakdown of the beat. This time we're gonna go over Yes I Will, the last song I had worked with my man A Bizzle. He definitely nailed this one down on the production side. This is the only one where I actually put actual drums on this that I typically put on my hip hop records. So this was an exciting one, unexpected. I worked on. I wanted to come out with something that was unpredictable, that would shock people, and this is how it came down to be. What you heard is pretty much what was playing out through the entire tracks as far as the chord progression goes. This one had a very simple chord progression, no changes in the bridge. It's very similar to Reckless Love, which if you haven't checked out, definitely check it out, by the way. But let's dive into the breakdown of the beat. The first set of instruments I had is actually the Rode piano. I think I originally recorded this with both the Rhodes and the normal piano, right? So you have the chord frame. That's the intro. And then it goes into the verse. I count on one thing. Right, so that's instrument one. Next is the regular piano. So that's what I led the song with right here. So I count on one thing. Right, so we have that. And then of course, you know, we had to add the pads. The pads was not in the intro, it just came in at the part where, right, the verse starts. This one is called the Ambient Mallet. So this is part of the FM8 pack because I wanted it to be not a regular pad. I wanted to have some stab, a hit to it, similar to how piano, you know, piano got that attack to it, right? When you're hearing that, it feels like it's an actual piano playing. So I stacked all those together, and then the last piece I had is this right here. So this is the real pad. This is called a sweep. And I wanted the sweep. When I first heard this, I was like, dang, there's something missing that I need to add here that makes it feel like something is anticipating and coming, right? So and this had that feeling. What I love about the sweep is that it starts in a slower attack. So as soon as you hear it, it takes a little bit of time to get in. And so when I hit this chord, it takes a little bit of time to grind up in terms of crescendoing and volume. And then it also has a bit of monophonic to it, meaning the sound seems like it's jumping right into the other. I love that, but it wasn't really a true monophonic, right? It just feels like it's jumping between notes and it's gliding in between notes, but it's really not. Yeah, I really love this sound right here. I think this is what really helped shape the heart of the new instrument I wanted to create, just merging all these four together. The Rhodes piano, the regular piano, the ambient mallet with the stab, as well as this together with the sweep. And it just created this whole new sound. And when you combine all these together, right, what do you have is this right here. I'm going to play right now for you. Hear that? You can't really say this is not a new instrument. This is a new invention right here. And this is what we like to do, create new sounds that we haven't heard before by merging a couple of sounds together. So it still had that bit of organic feel with the piano that's still in there, as well as the Rhodes, as well as my scientific, atmospheric, spacious feeling, which I love inside of my production. The next set of instruments we had is this right here. Why did I add this, right? You probably thinking this weird sounding thing right here. What is this supposed to be doing? So I was looking for something that made it seem like you were in space. Definitely. I love my spacious feeling. As you know, my first album project that I worked on, Vivid Echoes, it had that all over the productions, right? And I wanted to keep that recurring because when I'm inside of my music, that's what I feel like. I'm inside of the Z space, that I get to explore things and express my feeling. No limitations, no boundaries. And I wanted to be able to have that. Where this blended really well was with the sweep originally. So when you hit them together, Makes it feel like something's coming. It's like the space is crying a bit. That's just how I was imagining it all in my head. And I wanted that ambience and that feel. And it all came together. And when the verse hits, I purposely left the same thing playing, but I took off the high ends and some of the low ends. So instead of you hearing all this all throughout, right? It's the same instrument, but I took off the low end and the high end. The reason I took off the low ends is because it was taking up space of my bass, and I want my bass to sound clean and such, right? So I took that out to just keep the atmosphere in there while all that is playing. We got this part right here. A couple weirdo instruments, just fillers. Another spacious feeling instrument. So this is part of the FM8 pack. This is called Brains of Mech. And I did fine tune it a little bit because I wanted to have my feeling. What I like about this one is that it had this Congo bell sound that you hear in the drums. It had that already embedded inside the instruments, which I thought was cool. And hearing that is actually what inspired me to add the Congo bells inside of the songs, which you're going to hear in a little bit. So the last part of the chord progression is the bell maker. It's just bells and whistles, right? That's what this sounds like. But it's much more spacious, artificial. And we tucked all these together, put them all together, and what do we have? Is the full chord progressions. Now you heard all the bits and pieces, merge it all for you, right? And that's how this came together. Make it sound all big, spacious, out of space, unrealistic, new instrument that you have never heard before. And it sounds full. Cool. Once I got all that in, that was pretty much it to the core of the sound. It just came to matter to adding the bass now. So the bass, what I like to do is have my main bass, and I wanted this to have that retro feel, right? Right? That's that raunchy bass. And as you can hear, I took off some of the low ends because the bottom wasn't hitting as I wanted it to, but the feeling of the bass was there. So I just added my typical basement bass, right, that sub bass, to merge it all together so you can hear that part with it. So it's not as empty.
Now you won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God is
right. So we got the bass really well balanced, how I imagined it to come out with all the other instruments together and his vocals sitting on top of it. It came out pretty beautiful in my take. In terms of what else did I add to this to make this feel extra spicy and juicy, right? So you're hearing this coming out, very weird sounding. It normally did not sound like this. So what I did was I added a whole bunch of stuff to this, and I'm going to take them all off and we're going to break them down piece by piece. So this is what it sounds like in its normal form, right? This is what the vocals sound like.
close. Oh man, close.
So it's just random parts of this sample that I found.
Close.
Right? And then I just tweaked it as much as I could. First thing I did was added this auto-tune.
Oh man, close.
Right? It didn't sound like this originally. Now you're hearing the shakiness of the auto-tune, bringing it back to a tune that's supposed to be.
Oh man, close.
This is without auto-tune, and this is now with auto-tune.
Close. Oh man, close.
Next thing we did was we did the ultra pitch. So with the ultra pitch, not only did I take it up a whole other octave, but I changed the format. 1 octave above, right? This is what that sound like.
Close. Oh man, close.
But keeping the format in the middle. But if I bring the format down, it's gonna open up her vocals a lot much more.
Close.
You hear that?
Oh man,
She sounds a little deeper.
close.
So that's that. And then we added the EQ. The EQ just took off the low ends and the high ends, the vocal, so you could barely hear her. So it could feel more like an instrument rather than actually part of the song, because I needed the space for my man A to be heard. And then we added the reverb on top of that. So I added a verb directly on top of that. Typically I have buses of reverbs and delays and such, but I added one directly on this, and on top of that I also had the sends of the reverb. So this is without the sends. Right? And now let's add our typical reverbs and delay with that, so you can hear how that sound. Totally different sound that we changed and shifted, right? Way different than what we had before. So that's pretty much what I did on this vocal. So we got that in the beginning, right? If I take off all the effects on that, you're gonna hear it. It's just gonna say in the morning, right? But take all these back on, it's in the moment. Bam, and that's it. When the verse hits, I just did something slightly different. But it's not far from what I did in the beginning. I'm just looping the same stuff over and over to just add fillers to the song, to keep that emotional feeling in there. Some parts I didn't want to clash with his vocals, so I moved them around a bit. I played with the loop. The loop is not playing the same thing all throughout. It's like there's parts I took out. Actually, if you really listen to it, you'll hear parts I took out and shifted some things around depending on what the song was doing at that particular time.
You're working on things out.
As you can hear, I'm starting to bop some drums in, right? So the first thing with these drums, which I love, this is what my really hip hop feel. So the type of kick that I use in this, it's called the lawn kick. So it's a kick that I actually fine tuned over time, and I started using myself, and I EQ'd it, right? So, and when the 808 comes in, you got to make sure we take out the bass. So let me let you hear what I sound like. Right? 808 is hitting the same note as the bass at that point, but then once the bass is about to transition out of the verse going inside of the pre-chorus, I stripped out the sub bass. I left the normal bass because the normal bass doesn't have that low end to be clashing with the 808. So there, it sounds cleaner pretty much, right? That's what that's doing. So that's why you're hearing it from here. It's like, you're not hearing that clash, right? All throughout. So that's what that is doing right there. And then we have our snares. So the snares originally sounded like this, but I added the wood block, right? The congs that you have during in the drum set, right? That's what that is. So you can hear it. Right? So merge that with the snare, and it created this like new different instrument, and that's what I wanted right there, and that's what it pretty much did. Other than that, you know, we gotta have our transition snares. It's on that 1-3 timing instead of being on the standard 1-4 timing. It's more on that 1-3. So we got three beats in a beat. So that's like in rhythm terms, right? So when you got 1, 2, 3, 4. It's more like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just to give you a little intro in terms of music theory and timing right there. That's all that's playing, right? So right here, when he says bless your name, I wanted to add something to it to make it feel like, yeah, you feeling that stomp. So you can go like this with me, right? And to do that is simply adding some cymbals right there. So you got your name. You vibing with me, right? You vibing, you feeling that? All right. So that's why I wanted to really hit on that feeling. So that's why I added those cymbals right there to keep on that trigger. And then he's pretty much, I count on one thing. So So second verse, I brought the drums, but I tucked them in by EQing out frequency so it could feel a little bit more open, airy, atmospheric, right? So to do that, I had the kicks. I stripped away the low end and some of the high end. You hear that? I'm gonna loop that. Right. Now we're gonna bring the wood blocks. Same thing I did there. Right? I strip out some of the high end, low end, and add a ton of reverb to it. Hey. So that's all that is. And then once he's about to come back into the pre-chorus, I brought my snares in so that you can feel that transition. Right? And then we bring the snare in right there at that point too, so that transition just feels smooth. That 808 is hitting right there. So that's that part right there. And then once he finished with that pre-chorus again, we're getting closer to the bridge, right? I just took it home. There wasn't much else to that. It's really just him writing out the song all the way to the end and playing with the drums, bringing them here and there, in and out and such to make sure you vibing with me. You feeling the dynamics, the builds, the in and outs of the song. That is something feeling chill, cool. It has a hip hop feel to it, but it has a good, you know, knocking feeling in your chest, knocking in your back. You feeling good about it. So that's what I really wanted for this. The inspiration from this, when I first heard it, of course, it wasn't with this in mind at all. Abe and I, when we were working together, this one was probably the first one that I think he sent to me. And I had somebody else recorded a version of it, and she had a very nice jazzy voice. Beautiful, right? She had a very amazing voice. But I didn't like the delivery on it because I was looking for more of that soulful. I didn't want that jazz influence to be in there as much. So then when I sent it to Abe, he was able to get it back to me in a way where we were able to deliver. His first take wasn't as soulful, of course, but that's just me. People got to understand how I work and everything and feel comfortable to express themselves fully, because I want your heart, your toes, your nails, your hair, your eyes, your ears, all up in that song. Put all of it, make love to it, and just give God the glory and give God all the praise. Like, really sing with like your heart, mean it. And he nailed that on the second time go around, and I was super grateful for. So that's pretty much how the recording came to be. We started collaborating at that point on, and he did 2 more for me. Aside from that, he did The World Needs Jesus, and then the other one that he did, Thank You Lord, right? That Don Moen cover. So Abe is pretty talented. I really wish I could get him on an interview so that way we can get to know more about him, his background, the things that he was dealing with. But I know he had some things going on personally in his life, so he's a bit caught up at the moment. But in the future, near maybe, we could probably get Abe on so you guys can know a bit more about what he's working on and building up and such. But that's pretty much the story of it. I didn't think about the production to this level when I was working on it. I was actually stuck. I was a bit blocked. But slowly and surely, I just asked God for that guidance to really allow me to express myself fully in these records and show what he has blessed me with to the world, not to show off my talent, but to express my gratitude as well as share the gospel. Because yes, the Lord will. No matter what you do, we have to glorify God because he does so much for us beyond we can ever imagine. He's always there for us to push us throughout difficult times. When we think doors is about to be closed, there's another door that's just wide open, full of opportunities. But that transition period, I can tell you right now, sometimes it sucks because you don't know the outcome. But just know that, yes, he will. And that's what this song really reminded me of, right? And we got to choose to glorify him despite all that we deal with and go through. The other thing that I did on this that was a little different than most of the records is that transition that you hear, right now. So you're not hearing it right there. What I did was played with it's called the Verify in Pro Tools, but inside of Logic, it's something else. What it's doing is pretty much, think about slowing down or speeding up a record. That's what they call it in Logic, the slow down. In order for you to pull this, because you can't do this live on the full track as is, you can only do that on the audio file. So I had to pretty much record, I had to send all the instruments into a bus. Now record that bus into an audio track, beginning to end of the songs, and then I was able to do that slow down effect. And for you to hear that, I'm going to play that for you right now. I'm about to do it right here. Yeah, so you hear that, right? Slow down and then speed up. I did that a few times throughout the record. That's in one spot, and then a couple of other spots. I wanted it to be very playful, and I wanted you to really feel that. So I had to do that inside of Pro Tools and then bring it back into Logic to have that effect. Because the way Logic has it sounding and the way that Pro Tools has it sounding is two different things. The way I worked on all these songs is I recorded the piano by itself originally, performed it, record the video and performance audio at the same time. And then I sourced for the singers I wanted to collaborate with, sent this to Abe. He heard it. He had a vision in his head. He sent it back to me with some recording. And I had some more revisions for him because I wanted more soul into it. But we pretty much worked on this with the piano version and brought that to life. And once I got the piano version with his vocals, I mixed his vocals down with just the piano version because I feel like if we could get it to sound fantastic with just that, then I know once I add all this extra production, it's going to be phenomenal. And that's what we did.
I count on one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the way.
So that's Abe's raw vocals right there. We played with a lot of delays inside of his vocals. So he got the beginning here. So that's the first delay. That's one that's kind of like very fast. It's a very fast delay. That's what that's doing pretty much, right? That's one delay, and I'm only using it in and out in parts of words that he say.
I count on one thing. The same God that never fails.
So that's one, and then the next delay that I have is this one right here. I'm gonna bring it up.
I count on one thing.
I exaggerated so you can hear it. One thing.
On one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail.
And as you can see, I EQ'd the delays a bit. I wanted it to have that radio feel and be in that spacious, atmospheric feel space to me and just sound that way. So I took off the high end and some of the low end and then added a ton of reverb into it, right? So that was the second delay that you heard. And then the third one.
Yes, I will, yes, I will.
Yeah, that delay only came in one time, actually. I thought I had it in different parts of the song. It actually came in on this part only. And that's it. I didn't use it ever again. I only automated it at that one part. So that was that delay. So whenever he holds notes like these, I make sure I put that really fast delay on it so it make it seem like as if he keeps going. So when he says... it just makes his yells and screams, and when he's holding those notes, sounds even much more powerful.
Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is happy all my days. Oh yes, I will.
Okay, that was pretty much it throughout the song. It's just the ending, because I know he was gonna get softer. What I did was I automated more reverb at that point so he could sound bigger, more angelic, right? So right here. So if you can hear a lot more reverb is going in there. And for you to hear it, let me mute the piano real quick.
Days. Yes, I will.
It just opened him up a lot more.
Yes,
have that angelic feeling all up in there, and I really love that. So that was pretty much it for the vocals. I mean, we didn't really do much besides that. Like I said, the other thing that I did was the stutters that you heard. So to pull the stutters, I'm gonna open up the session right now, because I had to do them inside of Pro Tools. That's what it sounded originally. But I'm like, let me make it sound a little cooler. So right, we do that drop right there. That's one spot. The other spot that I did is right here. About to finish this part. But when the chorus ends, I was like, let me do something different. So I played with that a couple other spots. I didn't want to overdo it. There's a couple other spots you're going to hear it throughout the song, because I wanted to just feel cool, you know, and that was pretty much it. So now once I did this, I brought it back inside of Logic, and now I had this as just an audio track, and I had the vocals, the mixed down version of his vocals as an audio track. So it's really just those two tracks back into that Logic, and I muted all the other instruments in Logic because we already have the main instrumental, right? So we don't need all the instruments in there. And that was it. That was those two tracks, and I mastered it using that tactic. So the mastering went like this, right? I had my low ends. You gotta use the multi-bend compressor. You gotta make sure the bass is hitting the mids and the highs. Now when you got drums, hip-hop drums like this especially, you gotta be careful to not make the attacks as, I would say, as slow. It gotta be much more quicker, so that way when that kick hits, you can still feel the impact. If you don't do that, the impact of the kick ain't gonna be feeling as strong. And I, as a hip-hop head, you know, you like your kicks to be hitting and your snares as well. Now that's why we gotta be careful about mixing stuff with drums like this. So the low end was a little bit tricky, but we EQ, make sure we separate out the bass and the kicks together so they both can sound clean in your face as well. The mids, use the multi-bend compressor as well as some EQ to make sure that unnecessary sounds didn't overbear into his vocals. He still sounded clean, you could hear him, and the bass wasn't just overbearing him, right? And a lot of instruments sitting there, the pianos and such. And the highs, a lot of the airy stuff was there, and then the cymbals too. So, you know, most of the songs I didn't really have drums like that. So hi-hats and cymbals, they typically sit in the high end, so you make sure the multi-bend for the high end was compensating for that to make sure that it all sounded like evened out. And did some EQing so it's not harsh on the ears and everything. And then lastly, put in a limiter to make sure as you're transitioning from this song to another song, your ears ain't bleeding, you ain't turning no volume up or down. What the limiter is doing is making sure all the low sounds come up, all the high sounds are kind of closer to the low sounds, right? Bring them together, and then it lifts up everything, so that way everything can be as loud. So that's pretty much it. I hope you found this insightful, inspiring. I'm really excited to share this with you because this is the only one I actually put some like really cool drums on there, which I was feeling, because a lot of my production really sounds more like this, my original stuff. It was fun to be able to do that to this song. I originally did not even think about that, but I was like, let me try to do something different that's out the ordinary. Like, what can I do? And God gave me that wisdom, and I'm sharing it with you. So if you found this insightful, give this a thumbs up, please do, so others can be able to share that inspiration. Share it, of course, so others can be able to receive some blessings from this, right? If it's not from the instrumentations, but really the impact of the song, the meaning of the song into their lives. Of course, subscribe for future content as I'll be posting more stuff throughout. Drop a comment if you have any feedback, questions. You can always reach out to me at me@yarleyg.com by email. You can also check out the website yarleygmusic.com. This is where I also have a list you can subscribe to, so that way as I'm releasing stuff, you're always updated on everything that I have going on. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I'm really excited to share this song as well as all the other songs with you, and I'm hoping that you're tuned in, you're blessed by it. It's more about me transpiring what God wanted me to deliver to you than me expressing my talent and skills. So peace and love, trust in Jesus. Have an amazing one, and I shall see you next time. Yeah.